All right, hello City First, how's everybody doing? Oh, come on, let me hear you at every location, yeah. I know we're kind of in a little bit of a turkey stupor, you know? How many of you still having leftovers from Thanksgiving, right? Aren't leftovers the best? I mean, they really are. They're amazing. Hopefully you had a great Thanksgiving. Want to welcome all of our City First Church locations right now. Give it up for Cape Coral and also State Line at the Hononegah Performing Arts Center. Our God Behind Bars locations, Dixon and Hardy, and online and on TV. We love you guys and hope you had an amazing Thanksgiving. And now it is the official launch of the Christmas season, which means that it is now legal to play Christmas music, all right? Before Thanksgiving, it was illegal. I know some of you broke the law, but listen, it is now legal for us to play Christmas music, and we are now fully into the Christmas season. You know, Christmas, the month of December, it's the only holiday that literally we take an entire month around the globe, by the way, to celebrate. It is an amazing, amazing season. But going back a couple of days to Thanksgiving, I wanted to just take a second and on behalf of Jen and I, just tell you as City First how grateful we are for you. You know, at Thanksgiving, you're supposed to take a moment and really kind of in an introspective way, be grateful for all the blessings and such and the relationships you have. Well, Jen and I could not help but be thankful for you. So thank you, City First. Thank you for being such an amazing church. Jen and I do not take for granted the fact that we are the senior pastors of this place. We really, every single day, are grateful 365 days a year and just say thank you. This place is full of amazing people. God is doing great things. In fact, just a little over a week ago or so, 2 weeks ago, I think it was, we had a baptism celebration. Over 80 people got baptized. I mean, just amazing stuff. So again, thank you for being an amazing church and being so generous and being all in. So thank you so much. You know, the Christmas season, though, launches after Thanksgiving weekend, but only in America would you take a day to be grateful and then follow it up with psycho shopping, right? Only in America. Only in America. Now, I even know some of you don't do this anymore because you can go online now, and a lot of the deals are online. You can buy from the comfort of your couch, but there are still some of you that are a little crazy, and you get up way early on Friday morning, or maybe even go out on Thursday night, and you get those doorbuster deals or whatever. People camp out. I mean, it's crazy. Now, this is the thing. That doesn't sound like fun to me. All right, and here's the reason why. I don't think it has anything to do with my age, all right, because I have a very crazy schedule. But I would say this. I would say the reason I don't do Black Friday shopping is because when you're in the line with a bunch of people who many times are pushy and they're butting in front of you and it's kind of irritating and stuff like that, I think I'd lose my salvation, honestly. I think at that point, Jen would be like, now remember, you're a pastor, you know, because I'd be like seeing somebody butt in front of me. I'm like, oh, no, you don't. You don't bud like that. No way. So this is the thing. I stay at home on Black Friday. No one wins if I go out, kind of a thing. So I will tell you that it is actually a crazy season that actually brings a lot of stress. And thus also, even in a serious way of talking here, Christmas season alone, sociologists will say, and psychologists would say, that many times stress levels go up during the holidays. Also, anxiety can go up. Pressure can go up. Even depression can go up. I went to mayoclinic.org and went to their website. Most of you have probably heard of Mayo Clinic before. It's a world-renowned clinic, started in Minnesota, and they now have a few locations, but people literally from around the world will come to it. And great medical minds there. They put this on their website about holiday stress. It says, the holiday season often brings unwelcome guests, stress and depression. And it's no wonder. The holidays present a dizzying array of demands: partying, shopping, baking, cleaning, and entertaining, just to name a few. Don't let the holidays become something you dread. Learn to recognize your holiday triggers, such as financial pressures or personal demands, so you can combat them before they lead to a meltdown. With a little planning and some positive thinking, you can find peace and joy during the holidays. And then it listed out 10 ways to relieve holiday stress. And I read this and I thought to myself, what have we done with Christmas? I mean, what have we done? Because the pressures that many times we feel are brought on by the culture of Christmas that we've created. Like, are these the same pressures that people felt 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago? Have we created something in our Western mind, in our American mind, in our American culture that is actually put more stress upon this holiday season? The truth is, there is stress during the holiday season. And here's what we are going to try to be able to discern during these next few weeks that I'm talking in this series about decluttering Christmas. I want us to talk about what is the stress that is self-imposed versus what is the stress that is imposed upon us. Because there are very real stress and pressure points in the holidays that you know what, it's not something we brought upon ourselves, not something we signed up for. In fact, this may be the very first holiday that you're missing a loved one. And so you didn't sign up for that. That's not self-imposed. But on the flip side, there may be stresses that you have that, culture has put upon you, or you have put upon you. You know what stress does? Stress makes you lose sleep. Anxiety makes you continually think and your mind is racing. You get sweaty palms, you feel like there's 1,000 pounds on your back as you're trying to live your life. And you know what stress does too? A lot of times stress makes you talk to the imaginary friend in the car, right? You know what I mean? You start chewing somebody out, or you're talking to your boss, or whatever else. I mean, I'll pull up to an intersection, look over, and somebody is having a full-on argument. And either they are on Bluetooth or they are talking to their imaginary friend, right? Stress many times does that. And holidays can bring this out in us. I believe this. We are living in a time where people are under stress and under pressure, and all the holidays do is bring to the surface what is already there. There's already pressure at work. There's already some frustration. There may even be hurt or hang-ups or things like that. And what do the holidays do? Just brings it front and center. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about decluttering Christmas. And in fact, you might have been invited here today and somebody brought you because maybe right now you're under the gun. You feel like you're kind of like there's weight on your life. And you know what? You came to the right place. And here's the reason why. Because today I want to talk about and begin this week and for the next 3 weeks, I want to talk about how to declutter Christmas. Let's get rid of the stress and the pressure and the craziness and the unrealistic expectations and navigate sometimes the situations that are really difficult, but let's try to make a margin so that we can have some simplicity around the idea of what Christmas really is. And that is, Christmas is all about a king that came. And he came and he changed everything. And his name is Jesus. And let's not get so caught up in the craziness of Christmas that we get sidetracked from the real meaning of Christmas, right? So today I want to talk about the beauty of simplicity. The beauty of simplicity. In fact, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about how, again, to declutter and make it just simply Christmas. It's kind of like, especially for those of us that are up north here and in Florida, I realize this probably, it doesn't really resonate. But around here, sometimes on a very cool, crisp morning, you walk outside, not the kind where it's so cold it takes your breath away, but the kind that's a little warmer than that, where you could breathe in and it's just like it's fresh and it's clean. And it feels amazing. I want Christmas to feel that way. I want to feel that way to our soul, that we just take in a breath of fresh air of this Christmas season, and it's enjoyable. It's about friends. It's about family. It's about joy. It's about wonder. It's about love. It's about the presence of Jesus. Does that make sense? So we're going to talk about the beauty of simplicity today. And many of you recognize this person I'm going to put on the screens. Her name is Marie Kondo, all right? Marie Kondo is originally from Japan. Some of you that are like, you are Pinterest boards walking around, you know who she is. She wrote a book called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, The Japanese Art of Decluttering and Organizing. She also started a brand new series on Netflix this year in 2019 where she goes into American homes and she helps them organize and declutter and get rid of all the excess and things like that. Now, I will just confess to you for a moment, I've never watched her show, I've never read her book, all right? But I also know just from living life, this lady's a pretty popular lady. Her book has been published in 30 countries. In fact, there's even a little saying now that people are like saying, well, let's Marie Kondo that. In other words, it's like, let's declutter it, you know? Now, I also realize this, that in her book and in her show, she kind of works in some kind of Eastern religion, like, for example, that you're supposed to meditate when you walk in your door and greet your home and things like that. I don't buy that. I'm not into that. But I will tell you this, if you put aside some of maybe what we would say in Christianity that we don't totally jive with, I would say this, her overall thought is really, really good, and that is this, that clutter is creating stress. Clutter is creating stress. There's stuff in your life that is cluttering up your soul and is creating stress. And I'm going to talk at a level that's way above just organizing your sock drawer for a moment, okay? I want us to go to that next level, 30,000 feet up, and I want us to talk about decluttering your soul. Not just the month of December, but decluttering your life and creating simplicity. And in the same way that millions of Americans are in this season of cluttered kind of souls, I want us to talk about simply just finding Jesus and navigating not just in the month of December, but year round. Let's talk about simplifying our lives to create margin for stillness. I'm going to really talk about stillness today. I realize now, the minute I say that, some of you, especially type A personalities like myself, you're like your go-getters, you're like going, okay, time for me to check my email or get on Instagram or whatever. No, don't do that. I'm going to ask you for the next 20 to 25 minutes as you're listening to me here at all locations, I want you to really embrace this idea of stillness. And what I mean by that is this, is to actually lean in and listen, because I know this. I know that by the time you leave today, you're going to understand that God wants you to have moments of stillness. And we are very preoccupied. I believe one of the significant reasons why so many of us are burned out and stressed out, especially during the holidays, is that we don't know how to be still. Because then all of a sudden we're alone with our thoughts. We got to constantly be entertained. In fact, I will tell you, maybe with the exception of the Roman Empire that had literally half their calendar were holidays, outside of the Roman Empire, we are probably the next in line for being the most entertained society in the history of humankind. We constantly want to be entertained. We want to be preoccupied. We want to be doing something, right? Well, here comes this verse that many of you have on a wall somewhere or maybe on your refrigerator. It was funny, after the first service, someone came up and said, yeah, I had this tattooed on my arm. All right. Psalm 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. This verse says something profound that many times that we quote this verse a lot, especially if you grew up in church. You quote the verse a lot, you hear it, and it's like, oh yeah, be still and know he's God. Okay, no. You don't know he's God until there are moments of stillness. That stillness and being still is required to know God. Which means, conversely, if you're never still and always preoccupied, you only know God to a certain limit. To a certain level. So today, in the very first sermon of this series, I'm throwing you a curveball. I'm talking about stillness. For the beginning of our Christmas series, you're like, this makes no sense. Yes, that's how I keep you on the edge of your seats, right? All right? I don't want it to become something that's predictable. I want you to know that there's a direct connection between knowing God and the stillness of being in his presence. In other words, you rarely will deepen your relationship with Jesus if you're always stressed and in a hurry. In fact, let me ask this. Are any relationships in your life bettered or become better when you're stressed and hurried? No, right? In fact, when we are stressed and we're in a hurry, our relationships tend to diminish, not flourish. And so in a society that not only prides itself with being busy, how do we greet each other? How you doing? Oh, I'm busy, right? We should say, how you doing? I'm addicted to busyness is how we should really answer that. But I'm busy. We say that not only is our society busy, but also we're preoccupied. In fact, some of you went to the bathroom this week without your smartphone and you didn't know what to do. You had this moment of I don't know what to do. I guess I just have to go to the bathroom. We've even taken these moments and preoccupied them. C.S. Lewis, who was a brilliant theologian and a great author of the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, such like that, but he wrote a lot of theological books, by the way, also. He said this, he said, "We live, in fact, in a world starved for solitude, silence, and private, and therefore starved for meditation and true friendship." Is that not true? In stillness, we hear the voice of God. When we're still, that's when we can hear him. However, when we're preoccupied and we're busy and in this never-stopping society, we cannot hear the voice of God because all we hear is the noise of the clutter. So here's the truth. Jesus wants to speak a life-changing word to you this holiday season. I believe that with all my heart. And some of you are going, no, he doesn't. No, he does. In fact, I think God wants to speak to every person. Even if you're here for the first time, maybe you're even curious about faith. You're not even buying into this whole thing about Jesus. You know what? God wants to speak to you in a significant way. He wants to share something that literally will rock your world and is life-changing. But so many times we never stop to truly listen, right? You know what? In this Christmas season, we got to find times of silence. If we're going to make this a season that's not full of stress, we got to get away from the noise. We got to get away from the chaos. I think it's no coincidence that it was on a silent night that the angels visited the shepherds outside of the hustle and the bustle of the town of Bethlehem. Notice that the angels did not visit the busy market. The angels didn't visit the busy streets that were hustling and bustling, but rather instead outside of the city, a group of shepherds with sheep sleeping around them in the stillness of the night is when the angels came and proclaimed the coming of the King. And I think we will have revelations from God when we take and remove ourselves from the craziness of life for a moment, and we could hear the voice of God, and he will give us revelations, and he'll give us instructions, and he'll speak things into our hearts that give us strength to navigate the craziness. So here's a question. When are you still? When are you still? Now, if you're a parent of a small child, you're like, never. I know what you're talking about. We have a 19-year-old, we have an 18-year-old, he just turned 18 yesterday, and then we have an 8-year-old. An 8-year-old Paxton, and he's our joy. All three of our boys we love with all of our heart. But Paxton, many of you know our story. He has Down syndrome, so he was born with special needs, and he has some more challenges. And honestly, there are challenges in parenting him. Well, one of the things, I've been home now for the last 3 days because of the holiday. I've been home 24/7, and Paxton is just always just around me. In fact, Jen will tell you this begrudgingly, I'm his favorite. And he always has to be around Dad. Always has to be around Dad. Literally, he follows me everywhere. If I get up, I leave the room, he follows me. If I try to go to the bathroom, I have to lock the door, and he's on the other side of the door going the whole time. And I'm like, can you please let me go to the bathroom? He's always with me, 24/7. For those of you that are parents of kids, whether you are a parent of, you could almost say a nuclear family or a single family or a divorced family or whatever, kids, young kids in the mix can be challenging, right? How do you find stillness? There was a lady by the name of Michelle from Florida who wrote this. I want to read it to you. She wrote, ever have one of those days, weeks and months where your children drain you from every bit of energy you have? As a mom of 4, there are many days I think I could just not handle one more thing. In the span of just 1 month, I had to rush 2 of my children to the ER, one for sticking a barrette in her ear and the other one for a middle ear infection. The week before, I had another one with a bladder infection and also made an appointment for my 4th child with his counselor for anxiety attacks. There's no magic pill for a worn out mommy. That old commercial, Calgon, take me away, just doesn't cut it. I want a limo to come to the front door of my house and whisk me away to a 5-star hotel with room service. I long for my world to quit careening out of control. One night after my husband got home from work, I told him that it was absolutely necessary for me to get away for a little bit. Him seeing the raving lunatic just underneath the surface, he quickly sent me on my way, and I left for the beach. One of the blessings of living in Florida is the beach. You walk on the sand, and it feels like an instant vacation. I walked on a secluded spot of the beach, plopped down on a little hill, close enough to watch the waves come in, but far enough to not get wet. I let God have it. You ever had those moments? You're like, okay, I'm now alone with you, God. Sit down, right? I'm bringing it. She's like, I let God have it. I let God have it, and I told him how awful my month was, how it was not fair. Then a scripture popped into my head, not by accident, I'm sure. Be still and know that I am God. I folded my arms and sarcastically said, okay, I'm being still, and I know you're God. And I watched the waves. A soothing calm permeated my body as the waves came in and out. I slowly worked out my kinked muscles and overloaded brain. I closed my eyes and relaxed. About that time, I heard a wave sounded like it was going to come up and get me all wet. I opened my eyes, and I saw it was about a foot away. Immediately, God spoke to me and said, Michelle, you don't trust me. Huh? I brushed it off. I closed my eyes again. I heard another wave and opened my eyes, afraid that I was fixing to get wet. God spoke to me a second time. See, Michelle, you don't trust me. True to my stubborn form, I told God it was just a stupid wave and I didn't want to get wet. He informed me that wasn't the point. Rolling my eyes, I closed them. God told me to listen to the waves. Whenever I heard the froth of a wave bubbling near me, I squeezed my eyes shut, tried to listen, and tried not to peek. The next one came in, and I relaxed. Another one came in, and I relaxed more. Each wave came and left without touching me, and God began to speak to my heart. Oftentimes, life can be so loud that we forget to sneak in a quiet moment of stillness. Wave after wave comes. We feel like we have to focus on the waves, that we are fearing that we'll be soaked in the frustration and the anxiety of that moment. I walked away from the beach knowing that day that God would take care of this mom's anxiety and worn out body. The waves of life are inevitable, but I am still before him. And if I'm still before him, he will keep those waves from overwhelming me. You know, as I listened or read that, I thought, that's so true, because there's no easy answer for me to give you. I can't just sit there and go, well, this is how you find stillness, do this, this, and this. Because all of you have different schedules, different lives, different pressures, different hardships, different things that are challenging. All I'm here to tell you to do is to inspire you. You have to find stillness. If you want to know God, if you want to have strength, you have to find stillness. This is even for the 17-year-old in the room today. I'm telling you, whether you're 17 or 77, you have to have moments of quiet and stillness. Mother Teresa said it this way: we need to find God, and he cannot be found in noise and restlessness. God is the friend of silence. He's the friend of silence. Now, I know this is going to be hard, because just like those TV shows like Hoarders or this Marie Kondo show, I'm sure if I watched it, you know, the minute she's telling people to get rid of things, they resist, right? They're like, oh, no, I can't get rid of that thing. I've had that for 20 years. Yeah, you haven't seen it for 20 years. It's stuck in a closet somewhere. But they're like, oh, I can't get rid of it. There is resistance to downsizing and decluttering your life. And there is a beauty that is only found in simplicity. And until you're willing to get rid of some things or carve out some time, which means that you put aside some other activities or whatever else, until you do that, you're not going to find the beauty of stillness. You'll not be able to hear God's voice. Why do you do stillness? Well, in stillness, number one, you discover the right godly perspective of life. Because if you don't, you're gonna make decisions, by the way, life-changing decisions that are reactionary because of the chaos. There's all kinds of noise and you're making decisions. So many times, my staff will tell you this, and it drives them crazy sometimes, honestly. So many times they'll call me or text me or whatever, and it'll be a challenge, a problem, or whatever else, and they'll say, you know what do you want to do about this? And I'm like, you know what, give me some time to think about it. But they need an answer now. And I know they need an answer now, but I'm like, give me some time to think about it. And here's the reason why. I have to get away from the noise. And I have to get clarity to get perspective, because our world, our culture is so good at making reactionary, impetuous, subjective decisions that impact our lives. And so I want to be objective and I have to step away. So listen, in stillness, you discover the right perspective. In stillness, God tells you who you really are. Because if you don't listen to the voice of God, then all the voices of chaos and pressure and unrealistic expectations will be the dominant voice. Who's the dominant voice in your life? Is it your social media? Is it your fear? Is it your workaholism? What is the dominant voice driving you? See, in stillness, you hear the Creator's voice that begins to speak who you are over you, and that helps inform you how you take care of the chaos. Does that make sense? Number 3, in stillness, you gain strength for the rest of your day. Just like that mom, she had to get away just for a little bit to be able to get strength to navigate the crazy. And we all navigate the crazy. Rest is not a reward. See, in America, what we do is we go, you work hard and then you get a vacation. This is the thing. It really should be you rest first to fuel up to work hard. Does that make sense? That's the way God did it. What was day 7 of creation? After he made everything, did he say, get to work? No, he said, I've made everything, it's good. Now rest, because day 8 is coming, you're gonna work. You see what I mean? So we have to be fueled. Take 15 minutes every day to find stillness. Carve it out. Turn off the flipping screen for a minute. Don't try to preoccupy yourself. 15 minutes a day. Start small. As I close, I want to leave you with this brief story about Jesus. Jesus and his disciples have ministered all day. They are absolutely wiped. They are tired. Jesus has been preaching parable after parable. And finally, they've kind of come to the close of their time with all this huge crowd that's pressing in. It says in Mark chapter 4, as evening came, it's starting to get dark. And Jesus said to his disciples, let's cross to the other side of the lake. So they took Jesus in the boat and started out, leaving the crowds behind. Although I love this part, although other boats followed. Jesus is trying to get away to get some rest. And there's people even getting in boats as he's taking off in the lake and they're rowing after him. All right? The demands of life feel like that sometimes. And so they get out into the middle of this big lake. It says soon a fierce storm came up, high waves were breaking into the boat, and it began to fill with water. Jesus was sleeping at the back of the boat with his head on a cushion. The disciples woke him shouting, "Teacher, don't you care that we're gonna drown?" When Jesus woke up, he rebuked the wind and said to the waves, "Silence, be still." Listen to those 3 words. Silence, be still. I'll come back to that in a moment. Suddenly, the wind stopped and there was a great calm. And he asked them, "Why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith?" The disciples were absolutely terrified. "Who's this man?" they asked each other. "Even the wind and the waves obey him." Now, in reading this story, this is what we do. Some of you have heard the story 1,000 times. You know what? When reading this story, You put yourself into the place of the disciples, don't you? I mean, that's how we kind of like read the story. Because when you read the story, we try to put ourselves in the story and what should we do and everything like that. Well, we see ourselves as the disciples. We're in our boat called life. Jesus is in our life. And you know what? The waves are coming. The circumstances around us, the pressures, the anxiety, all that is rocking the boat. It feels like we are going to capsize. And what is Jesus doing? Taking a nap. I mean, how many times have you been like, Jesus, there's some stuff going on here. Hello? Are you sleeping? Are you taking a nap on me? Because waves are crashing in. I'm gonna drown in the midst of the crazy, in the midst of the stress, in the midst of the depression, of the hurt, of what is going on in my family, workplace, whatever. Oh, Jesus, wake up, right? I mean, isn't that kind of how we look at this story? And then Jesus comes and he brings calm to the seas. Now, looking at the story and putting ourselves in the places of the disciples, that's not wrong. That's actually a correct way of looking at the story, but this is what I want us to do. Remember I told you I want to kind of do things different today? I want us to look through the other side of the story for a moment. Instead of picturing yourself as a disciple, I want you to picture yourself as the tumultuous waters, the waves. I want you to picture yourself as the churn of your soul, the crashing of what's going on, how circumstances have whipped you up into a frenzy possibly, about how your calendar, how the demands of work have created churn and turmoil. And then Jesus stands up and he looks at you and he says, silence. Be still. This is what I know. The waves in this story obeyed Jesus way better than we do sometimes. They became still. And I will tell you that Jesus is looking at us today, and in the midst of our churn, whatever that is caused by, he's saying, silence. Be still. You see, when you hear messages like this, we take them as suggestions. We take it as optional. And maybe Jesus speaks to us today and he gives a command. He commands us, be still. Find times of stillness. Don't be preoccupied 24/7. Turn off Facebook. Turn off Netflix. Turn off the craziness of life. Don't book your calendar so full that you literally have no margin. Don't do this to yourself. Find moments of silence, because why? He wants you to know him. Stillness produces a deeper relationship with God. Be still and know. Be still and know. So before we even get into the crazy of Christmas, before you're called into the crazy that this culture calls us into, maybe Jesus would say be still. Be still. Find moments, even 15 minutes. Find moments and be still. And at all locations right now, I want us to just take a moment. And I want us to just be still. I want you to listen to this song. It's a song about the wind and the waves. And even today, Jesus still calls the wind and the waves to be still. They know his name. And Jesus is calling us to be still.